All right, Dog Nation. What's up, everybody? This is a week where on my phone quite a lot. Let's see. I think the headline that we chose for our show tonight does it extreme justice. We're talking about, I would think, in my own estimation, probably the newsiest week for Georgia football recruiting, at least going back to, I guess I would say, maybe February of 2020. That's when, Georgia closed out with some guys like Cedric Von Prawn and Broderick Jones. But those guys were already committed that stayed. And maybe you could go December 2019 when Georgia closed out the 2020, the bulk of the 2020 recruiting class on early signing day. But this just feels different, guys. It feels different for a lot of reasons. First of all, forgive my Southern manners. I got to remember my Southern manners. We've got our show Before the Hedges brought to you by Kroger each and every week. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. Great seeing everybody again tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. And reminder, this show is brought to you by Kroger. You can find it in podcast form after we stream live on YouTube and Facebook. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that stuff, and also on the Apple Podcast platform. But I'm digressing here because we got a lot of recruiting stuff to talk about. I guess first and foremost, Georgia goes from 12 commitments in the 2022 cycle, number one overall in the country. They lose Big Bear Alexander. They lose Dayon Bowie. I think one of those guys is probably more likely to return to the Georgia class than the other. I guess it was last Tuesday, so we're now in 8 days of full-fledged visits. Shoot, if I had to guess, I think Georgia's probably hosted 600, 700 kids at least. Maybe 400, 500 kids. Lots of kids have came through and seen Georgia or camped at Georgia over the last 8 days. That's a good thing. The doors are wide open, and Georgia has a beautiful new facility to show them. That $80 million is very well spent. But Georgia goes down 2 commitments, 2 5-stars. My good buddy Connor Riley at dognation.com wrote this morning some historical significance to it. Georgia lost a pair of 5-stars in October of 2028. That's when Georgia lost Jaden Hazelwood, and they also lost John Emery Jr., 2 5-stars that are still in college football at Oklahoma and LSU, respectively. But these were 2 back-to-back 5-stars, back-to-back days. I think most Dog fans, most Dog Nation readers and fans are probably gleeful that we've gotten to 8 o'clock on Wednesday and there have been no 5-star defections from the class. I can assuredly say that you won't see that out of Malachi Starks. Malachi Starks, the lone remaining 5-star in the class now, is not visiting anywhere except the University of Georgia. He will honor the timeless and old school version of being committed. So Malachi is the highest ranking commitment left in Georgia's class. Georgia now falls to number 4, if you guys can believe that. We've got a busy show where we're kind of going to recap a little bit. We're going to have 2 really cool interview segments. Are about 5 minutes each. One of those is going to be the man everybody wants to hear from this week. That's Branson Robinson, the All-American running back. You're going to hear the exact audio of my interview with Branson Robinson, which appeared in a dognation.com feature story earlier this week. Then you're also going to hear what I think is a pretty amazing thing for the future of Georgia football. Everybody talks about that RBU position and the legacy of the RBU position. Well, I've got a good chat as well with Justice Haynes, the 2023 running back, who, along with Richard Young, I think are the 2 alphas that Georgia and Dell McGee are looking at for Georgia in the 2023 class. Man, Justice is impressive. Wait till you see the practice video or the workout video that I caught up with him the other day. Man, that guy looks like he looks like, seriously, guys, he looks like he's preparing to go to the NFL right now, when really he's just preparing to go to the NFL. To go to his junior year of high school football. The way he's cut, the way he trains, the way he's developed, the way he takes care of his body, worries about nutrition, worries about recovery. That's advanced thinking for the son of former Georgia Bulldog and former Pittsburgh Steeler, Verron Haynes. Everybody remembers that name in Georgia football history for sure. Couple thoughts here. Since the Big Bear Alexander story broke, let me see. That's what I've learned here. So he's taking an official visit to Miami this weekend. He's going to be in Southern Cal the following weekend. He was actually at Texas today. So this is a wide open kind of reboot of his recruitment, to say the least. I guess everyone's involved now. Everybody's in it. I don't think, and this is what I'm being told, I don't think that Georgia will get an official visit from him in the fall. That's just going to depend on how that relationship mends or remains intact following the decommitment. Those things are always very tricky. There's also the fact that Bear Alexander and his camp want to use their official visits for places they haven't seen before, and Georgia doesn't no longer qualify for that list. Atlanta's easier to get to than most cities, so you would see you're going to see a lot of visits from Big Bear Alexander. The other guy, Dayon Bowie, I think things to think about there. You know, Nick Williams played a part in both of their recruitments. Nick Williams at Texas A&M played a part in both of their recruitments. Somebody asked me, pretty good question on Dog Nation Forum. I think they sent me a personal message, but somebody asked me, do I think that those two guys would still be committed to Georgia if Nick Williams was still on staff? That's a very good question. I could say Dayon Bowie probably would still be committed to the class. You know, the other thing with Big Bear Alexander, he's out in Texas. He is very likely to visit Texas A&M anyway, but certainly the relationships in place there that Jimbo has brought onto his staff with Nick Williams surely went a long way in some comfortability and also an ease of a quick visit once the doors open again from the NCAA pandemic. Those are some thoughts. And guys, we're going to get to the back half of our show. That top targets list, that was probably the most engineering and reconstruction of that list that I've done in quite some while, because I had to try and put a place to find a way for Big Bear Alexander to see if he still belongs on that list, and also for Dayon Bowie as well. So that's something to think about for the back half of our show. But right now, we had a very good conversation. You guys saw a lot of it, read a lot of it, saw the quotes, a lot of it on dognation.com. We wrote about big Branson Robinson out of Mississippi, who Rivals just recently elevated to a 5-star and the nation's #1 running back in the country. We got 5 good minutes. You can hear from Branson Robinson himself, kind of hear how he felt about the Georgia visit. Let's take a listen to that right now.
You had some time for us to marinate a little bit. What's the big thing that stands out to you about the visit?
Oh, man, the coaches, you know, they show so much love. I mean, not just Coach McGee. I mean, every coach on the coaching staff, you know. Everybody came up to me, every coach came up to me, shook my hand, talked to me, everybody. Coach Smart, I mean, I got to eat that steak you was talking about. I got to eat it right beside him, you know. I was around Coach Smart a lot, more than I was than Coach McGee, actually, on the visit. So, yeah, the coaches, man, they show a lot of love.
What was Coach Smart's big message to you?
Oh, man, he just wanted to know that, you know, I'm going into a great situation, you know, if I decide to go there. I mean, you look at the depth chart, you know, Zamir and James, you know, most likely they're leaving, you know, by the time I get there. And, you know, me and Kendall was actually my player host, so I got to talk with him and how everything's going to be if I commit there or not. So, yeah.
How well did Kendall do with that?
Oh, he did. He hit on everything, man. He told me how, you know, what it's like to be a running back at Georgia, you know, the things we do at practice, the things we do after practice, you know, the extra work you got to put in to be, you know, where you want to be at, you know, at Georgia. And so, yeah, we hit on just about everything.
Now, that's pretty cool, Branson. That's, you know RBU and you see all the guys, but it sounds like there's a boatload of work that goes into wearing that shield, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Man, was that the best part of your visit?
Man, there's so many good parts. I think the best part about it is it's probably the cooking part, you know. The players, you know, they got a cooking class. You know, I got to cook and everything with the other prospects. You know, that was a lot of fun, and that might have been the highlight of everything. So, you know, that I got to cook a little bit, show a little bit of my cooking skills, and, you know, that's probably the best part. I had a lot of fun. I mean, coming into the visit, I expected to have fun, but it was more than what I expected. And I mean, I was smiling, having fun the whole time, and Yeah, so it was great.
What do you think's the best thing about Georgia now?
The best thing about Georgia is so many good things. Man, the best thing I want to say about Georgia is probably the fans, man. I mean, Georgia fans are everywhere, you know. So, I mean, outside of campus, before I even got on campus, I was at the Atlanta airport, and you know, it's a huge airport. And people came up to me saying, you know, they're a huge fan, and you know, they watch me all the time. You know, they're big. A lot of Georgia alumni was there, and they said they watch me all the time. And you know, just the fans, man, like they're great. As far as the visit went, you know, everything was just amazing. You know, from the time I woke up in the hotel, from the time we got to do things, to the time, even when I went to sleep, you know, I was just happy, you know, the whole time. I never was a dull moment. And yeah, so they set the bar, you know, and like I said, it's pretty high up there.
What was it like leaving? What was going through your mind when you left?
Honestly, I didn't want to. That was the only sad part. I take that back. It was a dual moment. You know, the dual moment is I didn't want to leave. You know, I had so much fun. You know, I wanted to stay here. You know, so that was the only dual moment of the trip. You know, so yeah. Right now, you know, it's my parents' decision. I made it. We all talked about it. But we want to go on a visit. We want to go about 3 or 4 more visits. You know, see what other schools have to offer. Even if you know, before I even went on the visit, we decided even if after the visit I wanted to commit to Georgia, we still was just go on the next couple of visits. You know, see what everybody else have to offer. So yeah, that was the plan all along. But
Branson, were you tempted at all? Did you know, like, did you have to sit there and say, no, we're going to wait this out? Did they give you pause or anything? You got the vibes of it a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, after Friday, after every day was over, you know, we stayed there 3 days. So after every day was over, out of all the visits and stuff we done on that day, me and my dad would go talk in the hotel room, you know. And I bring it up a couple times, you know, about that. You know, we had to step on the brakes, you know, because, like I said, you know, the plan all along going in, we want to take a couple visits, see what everybody else has to offer. So, yeah, that definitely came up.
All right, guys, you saw the quotes a couple of days ago on DogNation.com. Now you got to hear them from yourself. That was some of that interview, that good stuff there with Branson Robinson. If you're just joining us, we had an early part of our show where we talked about the decommitments, Dayon Bowie, Big Bear Alexander. I shared a few thoughts about what I think is going forward with Big Bear Alexander in the future. But that's what you have there with Big Bear Alexander. What I think maybe Georgia's chances are maybe to possibly get back with Bear Alexander, or where I kind of see that recruiting going. We just ran a pretty good package where we had a good conversation with Branson Robinson. That was him recapping his Georgia official visit. But you know what? Let's do something cool here. Nobody's seen this on the pages of DogNation.com yet. This is you're going to see it here first right now on Before the Hedges. And speaking of Before the Hedges, let's get a chance to chop it up with a Georgia legacy running back. I think he's the top target, or 1A, 1B target for Georgia in the 2023 running back class, the 2023 recruiting class. That would be Justice Haynes, making a name for himself aside from his talented father, Veron Haynes. Justice Haynes, I caught up with him after he just saw Georgia and Clemson in back-to-back weeks. Some fascinating stuff. And guys, you watch him working out and some of this workout video that's accompanying this interview, guys, you'll want to go get on the kettlebells. You want to go get on the Stairmaster, get on the Nautilus, get on the Peloton, whatever. And you want to get a lift in before the night's over, because that Justice Haynes dude is coming with it. Let's take about 3 or 4 minutes. Have a good chat right now with Justice Haynes on Before the Hedges. Justice Haynes, man, I want to hear your movie review. So you've been to Georgia and Clemson back-to-back days. First off, you got to tell a friend about the new Georgia. What are you telling them first?
The facilities is amazing. It's top of the line. best you could have. Recovery, the locker room, the sauna, the steam room, even the showers are amazing. Everything's amazing there. The new turf facility, everything.
And you've learned that there's more on the way. Like, Georgia's not done yet. What else is coming?
They're building a 24-hour chef. They're gonna have 24-hour chefs, and it's gonna be a restaurant for the players, and they can order food on their on an app, and they can just pick it up and go to class or go to a meeting if they're coming from class, and that's just surreal. And it's a connect to the Buttsmere.
Justice, you are a legacy, a Georgia legacy. You've said a lot of times that Georgia has that home feeling, or it feels like home. What's the feeling now when you left Georgia? What did it feel like coming back home and talking to a lot of guys that really want you to play football for them?
That they really want me, that they really want me there, and that home feeling. I felt it. I felt the energy. Everyone was super excited to see me, super excited. I dapped everyone up. It was just a surreal moment. The players, I know a lot of players on the Georgia team right now. I got to see them. That was great. The players were welcoming, and it was just it was a really good experience there.
What sticks in your mind? I think you've had the unique vantage point of seeing Clemson on one day and then Georgia on the next day. I'm sure all that stuff has kind of blown your mind, or your jaw might have dropped a lot. How would you compare where those two schools are right now in terms of facilities?
They're both top of the line. One thing I would say that Clemson is a little more advanced. They were ahead of the game, I feel like, but before. I haven't seen anyone else's facilities besides them two, really. But they were a little bit ahead of Georgia because they already have that 24/7 order on your app and go thing. They had a cool bowling alley in their players' lounge. They both had barbershops. Clemson had a golf simulator. They had a 3D custom thing that that customized pads. So if a player's like hurting, you just put it on your shoulder. That was pretty cool. I've never seen anyone have that. And so Clemson definitely, the facility, I feel like they were a little bit more advanced a little bit, but I know Georgia's getting up there too.
What does Georgia say that makes you feel like you're a priority? You said that basically Clemson and Georgia recruit you as hard as anyone else, but also as creatively and uniquely as everybody else. What's Georgia's way there?
Just Coach McGee telling me that I'm his guy, he wants me, and that I'm at the top of his list, and that he really wants me to be there, and he has to have me. That's what he tells me all the time. And Kirby expressed the same thing, and that was great to hear. And just Coach McGee, he asked me about life. When we talk, he doesn't just talk about football, but he's talking about also making me a better man off the field, but also at the same time, we're talking about football too, which is like the schemes and stuff like that. He's just a great guy and just trying to help me become a better player and just wants to see me succeed in every way.
How many times did your dad go, "Oh my gosh," or the kids today are so spoiled," or how many times did he be like, we had nothing like this, we were lucky to have a cold tub?
He said that a lot. I heard that a lot throughout the trip. That's all he kept saying, is these kids are spoiled. We didn't have we didn't have any of this, and there's no reason why these kids shouldn't fail. And they have everything they need at the facility. There's no way they should be getting in trouble. That's what he said, and everything is at the facility, which is true. You get food, you have a players lounge, you have PS5s, Xbox, bowling alleys, ping pong. Like, you have everything. You got your boys in the football team there. So,
Justice, I think the thing with you, we've talked a lot about where you're at, your recruiting, your summer. I think the thing that sticks in my mind is you have this phrase, "It's lonely at the top," and I think you're the kid that puts your head on the pillow at night and goes, "Man, there's a running back in Texas that might have worked harder than me because I took 4 hours off," or whatever. Is that what really drives you? That's the feeling that if you want to be the best, you have to outwork everybody?
Yes, sir, definitely. And it's not just hard work. Hard work is definitely up there. Like, you have to work hard, but it's also recovery. I take recovery just as important as I take this hard work, and I'm just trying to one up my competition every time. And like you said, lonely at the top, because it is lonely at the top, and you can't stop. Is this moment you stop is the moment your competition catches up, and that just can't happen.
Justice Haynes, I think I've watched him for a long time. I've covered him as a recruit for a long time now. It looks like, folks, he's almost ready for an NFL combine. That's what his mindset is at. He works like he's about to become a professional in football, and he's still got 2 more years of high school football to go. Justice, thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's Justice Haynes, man. I tell you, look at that. Very impressive class of 2023 running back. He's at Blessed Trinity High School. He's going to be there for his junior season this fall. People were asking Blessed Trinity. That's in Roswell. He's, I think, a top 45 overall prospect, nation's number 3 or 4 running back for that class on the 24/7 Sports Composite. If you ask me, I think Georgia values him as high as any running back in the class, and maybe the only peer for him would be Richard Young, the 5-star out of Lehigh Acres in Florida. Richard Young's actually visiting Ohio State right now and looking pretty good doing it. I mentioned this in Facebook. I was going to mention this I mentioned this in YouTube right before we came back on. You guys got any questions? I think we've been hitting holes hard here, catching a lot of topics. I want to make sure I take some time to just pump the brakes a little bit and come back and forth with you guys a little bit if you have anything that's on your mind. Christy, I'm catching this one off YouTube. Hope I answered your question. He's from Georgia. His mom is actually a Florida graduate. Veron is a Georgia graduate. I guess I would call him his stepmom now is a Florida graduate. So he's been to both Florida and Georgia a lot. He's going to visit Notre Dame this month. He's going to visit Ohio State and Michigan. He's going to go on a big tour this weekend, but so far he's only visited Georgia and Clemson. I thought it was very interesting the things he had to share about facilities and stuff like that. We'll get his story up on the pages of dognation.com soon. But like I said, you guys were the first folks to see that, first folks to hear that, first folks to see that clip. We try to treat you guys right each and every Wednesday night on Before the Hedges on Dog Nation. Let me see. Anthony Spano. Anthony, sorry that wasn't what you liked, man. That was something that I pulled from a phone conversation. It was an audio conversation, sir. It was not a live conversation. But that's something I packaged together with the audio from the interview and added it to our program tonight. Let's see. Let me see. You guys have anything on? Actually the Justice Haynes interview wasn't a telephone interview at all. That was recorded live on camera. Going forward, let me see. I want to check out Facebook now. Let's see. Moose Thames, hey man, thanks for joining us. Joseph Kennedy needs to get a 5-star wide receiver in this class. Philip Jordan Wells on Facebook makes the comment that Justice Haynes looks like his daddy. Let me see. Let's see. Tennille Calvino, Graham Nicholson. Hello to everybody out here. All right, guys, let's do this. This show each and every week is brought to you guys by Kroger. I call it. This is the part of the show where we all take a knee, we unbuckle our chin straps, and we take a quick second to learn about everything that's going on at Kroger, to hear from Kroger. Let's do that right now.
We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but first, a quick word from Kroger. Kroger has made shopping for the groceries and household essential items that you need even easier by offering free pickup. Just shop online, choose a pickup time convenient for you, and Kroger will carefully pick out your order and bring it to your vehicle when you arrive. So the next time you're ready to shop at Kroger, take advantage of the free pickup. It's just another way that Kroger is fresh for everyone.
All right, guys, fresh for everyone. And speaking of fresh for everyone, let's talk about a new top targets list. Like I said earlier in our show open, man, this is a lot of reconstruction on the list. Let's take a look at it right now. This is the version 6.2. We're going 16 names right now because we had to move a couple of names back into the list. Number 16, that's the 4-star offensive tackle Tyler Booker. Tyler just took a big official visit, his first official visit to Florida this past weekend. Tyler is going to see Georgia the third weekend of this month. He's got official set with I believe Ohio State still coming up. He's got an official visit set with Alabama as well. So he's going to have a very, very busy month of June. It's really going to decide his recruiting. Number 15, that's the 4-star defensive lineman Christian Miller out of Cedar Grove. Christian Miller Did not make it to Athens this week, I don't believe. And now he's going with Mikael Williams, a name you'll see much later in our top targets briefing. They're going to Southern California to see the USC Trojans on their Cali official visit this weekend. Number 14 on our list, he's dropping quite a lot here. 14 is 4-star wide receiver Evan Stewart, Liberty High School, Frisco, Texas. Evan took another impactful visit to Florida. Heard a lot of good things. There was some reports we cannot substantiate about how he felt about Georgia. He currently has an official visit still scheduled for the month of June. Number 13, this is a young man, Anai White. I think he's the number 42 overall prospect in the nation. He's going to be in Georgia this weekend on an official visit. He comes from the same high school program, which has now sent Tyke Smith to the University of Georgia. Another edge guy. I think he's the number 2 edge in the country. Georgia's been recruiting him hard, and that's a position that Georgia's going to have to look closely at for restocking in the 2022 cycle. They had a good one that was in town this past weekend out of Maryland. Number 12, Keon Sabb, IMG Academy, Bradenton, Florida. Again, he's going to take his official visit to the third weekend with all the other IMG guys to Georgia. Keon Sabb is the nation's number 1 athlete. He was actually rated higher than Dayon Bowie. Number 11, another guy that's kind of tumbling down the list right now, Walter Nolan, St. Benedict at Auburndale out of Cordova, Tennessee. He just visited Florida this weekend. I know folks are going, man, that's a lot of Florida, drifting some top targets down the list here this week. It's kind of maybe par for course for the week, but Walter Nolan, I don't think he's going to shut down. Actually, there are reports swirling that he's supposed to be in Athens tomorrow, that he's going to take a visit to check out Georgia this week. He's still got all these official visits planned. I guess the general sense you hear about Walter Nolan and you see about Walter Nolan is he's growing fatigued with the recruiting process. Number 10 on the list is Jeremiah Alexander. Had a great visit to Georgia this past week, had a great visit to Alabama this past week, and had a great visit to Clemson this past week. I think those will eventually formulate his final 3. He's not going to make his decision until after the season, most likely at an All-American game, the Under Armour All-American game. He's taking his only official visit this month to Central Florida. Number 10, Jeremiah Alexander. And folks are wondering, man, even Jeremiah's flowing down the list a little bit right now. That's because number 9, Danny Dennis Sutton. This is the guy that really impressed the Georgia staff. He was really impressed by Georgia, to say the least. Penn State, Alabama, and Georgia are his final 3. He's looking to make his decision in the next 4 to 6 weeks or so. Be very interesting to see how much Georgia can capitalize off their first visit, which was a great official visit. And, DDS had the chance to hang out with all the guys. Denylon Morissette's actually got a connection to him as well. They've got those 2 guys both at least lived and played football in Maryland for a little bit. Dennis Sutton was in town with all those other priority officials for the first weekend in June. And now this is, I think this is where this name needs to go. Not too high, not too low, kind of right in the middle. Big Bear Alexander out of Brewer in Fort Worth, Texas. Possibly, I hear a lot of things all the time. Possibly, I think this might be as high as Big Bear Alexander will be for a while on this list. I think things with Big Bear Alexander will not move back into the direction they were until he takes another visit to Georgia. He's probably going to visit 10 schools before he visits Georgia again. And like I said earlier in our show, I think he's going to take an unofficial to visit when he does go see Georgia again during the season. Number 7, we also wrote about him this week on dognation.com. Oscar Delp. I think the biggest thing Georgia did, all the good things that Georgia did, face-to-face interaction with Todd Hartley was great. His parents are won over. His parents feel that Georgia should very well be the place to be. But for Oscar, the staff has convinced him that Georgia's going to feature the tight end and showcase the tight end, and there's going to be big play providers in Georgia's offense going forward. And that's what he really needed to hear. I think that was the biggest missing check, or the thing Georgia really needed to do with Delp's official visit. And now they've done that. The thing that he remarked to me about that was pretty cool was he needed to kind of get immersed in the Georgia team and immersed in the Georgia culture. he told me a story about he was sitting at a table with the nylon, and then there was Nolan Smith, and then there was George Pickens. Good to hear that George Pickens is involved in Georgia recruiting on the weekends and everything else like that. But Zamir White was there. Like all the really, kind of high profile guys for Georgia football were sitting at the table and kind of hanging out with him. And he certainly appreciated that. Oscar Delp also said some pretty interesting information in the story that Eric Gilbert is definitely a wide receiver. He has no concerns about coming to Georgia to play tight end with Eric Gilbert there with another year of eligibility at least when he arrives in the class of 2022, should he choose Georgia. The big thing to know about Oscar is Oscar's still going to take his visits, still going to visit some games. September the 30th is still the finish line for him with his public decision. Travis Shaw, he's going to probably visit Georgia on an official the third weekend in June. That's when he will see Jalen Walker. His good buddy Jalen Walker will be in town as well. Travis is going to start visiting schools. He's overcoming some shoulder surgery, won't be able to work out at any of the camps. But you want to talk about a guy that certainly is now A1A for Georgia on the defensive tackle lane with the news from Big Bear Alexander. That would be Travis Shaw. Travis Shaw was already an A1A priority prior to this decision. Of course, Georgia's going to have to fight with North Carolina and Clemson for Travis Shaw as well. Number 5, I think you guys were wondering where he was going to show up. Dayon Bowie out of Bainbridge, Georgia, the other 5-star decommitment of the week. Dayon Bowie, I always really loved Georgia. You'd always kind of thought he would wind up at Georgia. Nick Williams was his primary recruiter, but there's still very close connections there with Dayon and Gunnar Stockton, for instance, and also Kirby Smart, for instance. So I think Dayon is a guy that's going to look around as well. He was another guy that didn't really get to look around a lot. He even told me before his decommitment that he was going to go see Florida. He was going to go see Alabama. He's already seen Texas A&M. So now we'll have a lot to compare Georgia to. Number 4 on the list is Kojo Antwi. Got a story that's going to go up probably either tonight after our show or early tomorrow morning. With Kojo Antwi. I got his thoughts and recap on the Georgia official visit. And folks, I got to say that went very well for Georgia. The number 4 overall prospect here for the top targets list for 2022. That's Kojo Antwi. Number 3 on the list is the 5-star safety, the number 1 safety in the country, Kamari Wilson, another IMG Academy lad, another IMG Academy standout, should I say, a defending champion at Sender. Kamari Wilson is visiting everywhere. I think he's visited Auburn. I think he's visited Miami. I think he's visited Florida State. He's visited Georgia. He's basically been all around the world over the past. He visited Mississippi State over the past week since the recruiting doors were open again. Number 2, not much to be said about here. I think we've done a good job of informing you guys about Branson Robinson. You heard from him at the beginning of the program. That's Branson Robinson, number 2 on the list. And number one is I think a guy that has kind of been around college campuses more than those. You guys raise your hand or, give me I got you, Jeff. I think he's been around college campuses more than those credit card vendors. The guys with whether it was a hoodie or a towel or a koozie or something like that. When you show up at college and you see they're giving away credit cards for all the students to get in trouble with. Mikael Williams, I think he's visited Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, FSU. He's kind of been around the world, kind of a huge world tour. He's been to Auburn as well. He's been to Georgia Tech as well. So, and that's another guy. Kamari Wilson went to see Georgia Tech as well. But 5-star defensive end, Mikael Williams, we wrote about him after his unofficial visit, last week. And he told us, even with all the stuff at Georgia, even with all the bells and the whistles and the $80 million and everything great, the thing that stands out the most for him is the people at the University of Georgia. And for a program that's trying to win a very heated in-state recruiting battle for a 5-star defensive end, I think that's the thing that Georgia fans should pay a lot of attention to. We got some other names to know. Aaron Bryant, he just recently dropped his top 5. You'll see this. Today's his birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Aaron Bryant. Jahad Campbell, he's actually in Clemson today, another IMG Academy pass rusher for Georgia. It's going to be like, do they want Danny Denton Sutton? Do they want Anai White? Do they want Jahad Campbell? Do they want to play the long game with Shamar Stewart? That's kind of like the pieces that are forming there for their edge defender in the there are another one or two more edge defenders in the class of 2022. Dalen Everett, this is another guy that was in Clemson today, out of IMG Academy. A lot of the IMG guys were at Clemson today. That's a 5-star corner. 4-star Andre Green, he is in Athens this weekend out of Richmond, Virginia, on an official visit this weekend. He's one of the top 125 prospects in the country. 3-star offensive tackle Jacob Hood, he's also 6'8" out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's also on his official visit this weekend. We're going to recap the list for you really quickly in a minute, but Shalik Knotts, the same thing for him, a top 100 wide receiver out of Monroe, North Carolina. Addison Nichols, he had a great official visit to Georgia. It made him think quite a lot. I think it improved Georgia's position with Addison Nichols, as it should have. Addison was in town on his official visit this past weekend. Jake Pope got the chance to visit Georgia, got the chance to work out for Georgia. He showed up at Georgia on June 1st, which is the first day prospects could get on campus. He spent this weekend at North Carolina on his official visit. Shamar Stewart, he visited LSU this past weekend. That thing didn't go so well. You saw a lot of crystal balls change for Shamar Stewart from LSU. Looks like they're out of it, or at least that they didn't really enhance their chances with Shamar Stewart. The kind of clubhouse favorite right now that a lot of the analysts are picking is Miami with Quayshawn Stewart. 4-star offensive lineman Quayshawn Sapp outlines the rest of our kind of other names to know. Sapp plans to make his decision on July the 3rd. Kojo Antwi will make his decision on July the 5th. And the other really kind of semi-locked date, Oscar kind of confirmed it for me this weekend. He's going to make his decision on September the 30th. That will honor his mother, Mary Delp, who is a fascinating lady in her own right. She runs marathons. She's ran Boston Marathon before. She's quite the athlete herself. Now, here's a breakdown. We always show the snapshot each week. Georgia drops 2 commitments. Here's something to say positive about Georgia's recruiting week this week. Name me another program that can lose a pair of 5-stars, their 2 highest rated commitments, and still be in the top 4. Well, that's where Georgia's at right now. They fell from number 1 to number 4. They're down 2 commitments. They have 3 on offense, 6 on defense, 1 on special teams, 7 in-state, 3 out-of-state. There's only 1 5-star. That's Malachi Starks. There's only 3 top 50 commitments. That's Gunnar Stockton, Malachi Starks, and Jalen Walker. Top 100 commitments, there are only 5. Top 150 commitments, there are now 7. Still 8 commitments in the SEC footprint. There's another thing to know, guys. This is the official visitors that are scheduled so far for this weekend, the weekend of June 11th through the 13th, with their 24/7 Sports composite overall rankings. Look at these lists right here. Anai White, we mentioned him earlier. He's on the top targets list, the number 39 overall recruit in the country. Shalik Knotts, another wide receiver, number 93 overall in the country. Andre Green Jr., number 155 overall in the country. So a little quick wide receiver subplot there as you have Andre Green and Shalik Knotts, and then Kojo Antwi and Denalon Morissette. Georgia's really trying to get out in front with the official visits for their most desired wide receiver targets. Jacob Hood, the 6'8", 3-star offensive tackle out of Tennessee, got a lot of Georgia fans in his family. He's also told me that he's going to take his official visit to Georgia this weekend. Mississippi State, Kentucky, Tennessee, a lot of schools are in there for Jacob Hood as well. And then for the 3-star athlete, just picked up his offer from Georgia over the past 3 or 4 days. There's a report out there that from 24/7 Sports that he is expected to make his official visit into Athens this weekend as well. Pretty busy slate of things going on. I tell you, I feel like we've kicked into high gear with everything we've had to discuss here with Georgia recruiting since those visits are happening now, to say the least. Let me see. Now's the time. Man, there's a lot of things I want to show you, a lot of quick stories I want to show you, try to get in front of your eyes about what's been going on over the last, I can't even do a week anymore, guys. There's so much going on. These are really the things that I saw from, the past 4 or 5 days at the most. I think we've got to start with the most newsmaker options. The first of those would be, let's take a look at the Big Bear Alexander. Check out his decommitment tweet. He says the landscape of college football has changed. That's why he's opening up his decision. Big Bear Alexander makes the move away from the Georgia class at this time. Certainly a change of heart from the young man I met with just just last Thursday evening. And he had those positive comments about Georgia and how he thought the Georgia commitment was going to last. Jordan Davis and everything else like that. The second one, and we're going to get these out of the way quickly. This is the Dayon Bowie decommitment that he put a statement up on his Instagram story that says he just he made the decision too early. Now he's going to go visit a bunch of other schools. Jacob Hood is actually going to name his top 5 tomorrow. That would be June 10th. You can see that here in this tweet. Fully expect Georgia to be in there because he's going to name his top 5 the day before he goes and takes his official visit to Georgia. Speaking of top 5s, let's go through Aaron Bryant's top 5. Aaron Bryant recently named his top 5. He named it today. This is another birthday, like we said earlier in the show. Aaron Bryant named his top 5 on his birthday. He's got Texas. He's got Texas A&M. He's got Alabama. He's got Georgia. He's got LSU, I believe, is his 5th school in there. Aaron Bryant out of South Haven, Mississippi. Now, folks, that official visit went really well. He told me that he's about 2 to 3 months away from a decision. He did feel a certain type of way. He did get some commitment vibes as well this weekend. He told me that Nakobe Dean, who basically grew up about 5 to 10 minutes away from his home in South Haven, near kind of the greater Memphis area in Mississippi, right off the Tennessee border where those two states intersect. Nakobe Dean did a fantastic job of hosting him this weekend. Now look at this, guys. Braden Joyner. This is a 4-star offensive lineman. He was the MVP of a recent Rivals camp. Probably going to end up the nation's number 1 or number 2 overall center. But I spoke to him today about his Georgia unofficial. He said it felt like an official visit. He really, really, really was taken aback by how much attention and love he received from Georgia. He got the chance to work out for Coach Mad Luke. Braden Joyner, I really love his story. I can't wait till I have the ability to kind of publish a lot of thoughts there on Braden Joyner in the class of 2023, a big-time offensive lineman. He's looking to play with a lot of dudes in the 2023 class as well. Caden Lee, guys. Now, this is another Terrence Edwards pupil, Caden Lee, and we got some video here of Caden. He's at the Auburn camp, and look at him work. Look at the way he can set up his receiver. Terrence was telling me the way Caden Lee works, he kind of sets up like he's playing chess. He knows how to set up the defender. He has the ball skills, the leaping ability, the tenacity, the acceleration, the speed, the agility. He has all that stuff too, but then he's kind of playing chess with the cornerback as well. He very favorably compares Caden Lee to Jermaine Burton, almost the same player. He would give Caden the edge at the same age in terms of route running and IQ and the way they think the position out, technique. He would say Jermaine Burton would be a little bit more explosive, a little bit faster. You got to love watching Caden Lee. I know I do, watching Caden Lee. He's called Honeycomb by those that know him really well. Watching him break guys up and break guys down and cross them up on those routes. You see some of these highlights here. These guys are just giving up. I want you to show you this one. Now, this is A.J. Harris, guys. And A.J. Harris, you want to think about the biggest visitor so far this week. And I'm not talking official visitor, but so far this week. And maybe the biggest 2023 visitor so far, along with L.T. Overton that visited Georgia. I think it might be A.J. Harris. A.J. was a camper at Georgia for Kirby Smart's camps when he was in the 7th grade. He came back. Basically, everybody on the Georgia staff met him at the door, met his family at the door. They were floored. He worked out, even though he probably wasn't maybe thinking he was going to. He always has a pair of cleats in the bag. Looked very good in doing so. He felt that the way Coach Jamil Adai coached him was what he was looking for. Now, here's the hardship for all this good news train about A.J. Harris. He's a 5-star, nation's number 2 cornerback in the class right now. He told me, this is something you guys are hearing right now on Dog Nations before the Hedges, before it even shows up on dognation.com. He told me that he's already felt that home vibe, that this might be the place feeling for 2 schools. Georgia was one of those. Clemson was the other. A.J. Harris is out of the state of Alabama, right around the Columbus border. He was actually visiting Alabama today, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, and Ohio State. Those are some of the other schools he's going to visit. And he told me that he's not going to mess around with making his decision. If he feels ready to make his decision before his junior year, he's going to be empowered to do so. And a lot of athletes have these lines, and it sounds right. But when AJ Harris tells me that he is going to make his decision and not visit anywhere else or not go anywhere else, I'm going to believe him at that, because there was a certainty in his words. His father had a strong military background. They lived in Germany for a long time. They traveled all over Europe. You can name a place in the European theater, European continent. He's probably been there. He moved back to America when he was 10 years old, but he spent the first 10 years of his life overseas. He's one of the most impressive guys Georgia has recruited in my mind of late. He's way up there in terms of composure, character, structure, solid family background. He's got a great story that I'm going to get to tell very soon on dognation.com as well. Look at this tweet. I think everybody saw this from Denylon Morissette. Everybody saw, basically it's that we're going to get that back. Denylon Morissette, most likely, I think most people are kind of taking it to mean Big Bear Alexander back. I think most likely the best interpretation for there is Georgia's going to get that number 1 ranking back in the class of 2022. And Denylon, guys, I'm going to tell you, this guy is a fun guy to talk to, strong leadership skills, has a lot of fun. And he was an OG's G at the official visit this past weekend. He was talking to guys. I mean, he was just going boom straight into it. Who are your leaders? Why is Georgia not among your leaders? What does Georgia have to be your leaders? What does Georgia need to do to close this deal? You're feeling Georgia. I mean, he was peppering these guys. He was really working for the Georgia brand this weekend. Wanted to show you guys this offer from Drew Bobo. I know we're kind of flipping through a lot. Hopefully, Michael, we're trying to feel like we're going quick game with a lot of this stuff. But Drew Bobo just picked up an offer from Auburn. Really, that kind of solidifies his decision for me between Georgia, Auburn, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, and Kentucky. He's going to visit 3 of those schools this weekend. We mentioned Aaron Bryant in his top 5. There it is right there. Aaron Bryant out of South Haven, Mississippi is a 3-star, folks, but that's a 3-star. He's a 4.5-star walking. That's how good. I mean, I never forget the story he told me about. You see his top 5 there. You also see a tweet of all of his pictures. He's got the keep chopping axe and everything else there. I'll never forget when he told me that. I don't think we have his top 5 here, but I never forget when he told me when the first time he started talking to Travion Scott, Coach Scott said, "Man, how come I don't know your name? How come we aren't already talking already? I'm looking at this film and you're a guy I should have been talking to for quite some time." A visual here. This is from John Johnson, Jigaman on Twitter. This is Mikael Williams, his father. This is an example. I tell you, the guy's been everywhere. I think he's put up more miles than your kind of Amazon truck that you see going around all the neighborhoods each and every day. But he was at Florida State. That just adds to the list. I think the last time I counted, he visited 5 or 6 schools in the days that the doors were open. Check out Danny Dennis Sutton. That's another guy. I want you to see some of the visuals here of Danny Dennis Sutton. He tweeted out his thanks for his Georgia official visit. And I think Georgia is a major contender. I put up on the site on Sunday night with a lot of news, a lot of information kind of flowing that I think there are 2 or 3 ways now where I can see Georgia getting in the business with, Georgia finding a way to have Dennis Sutton in the class. Another name, guys, and these 5 stars are coming in through here fast and furious. We're going to write about some of these. We got to write about this guy soon because I had a good interview with him as well. This is Jaden Wayne, and he's out of Washington. And really, it sounds like Georgia's one of the 3 schools that are really on his mind right now. He's got the University of Washington. Georgia's one of those. Now, he's a guy very interesting. He's about 6'6", about 250 already. Look how kind of mature and physically composed he looks right there. He has the ability to be a defensive end, outside linebacker, edge, but also a tight end. He has that unique skill set where, Hartley was talking to him. Todd Hartley was talking to him on his visit last week, over the last few days, and so was Dan Lanning. Really likes Georgia, really likes the way Georgia's recruiting him over the past 6 months. Really feels Georgia has a really good shot there of moving a lot further and a lot farther in his recruitment there. And I think Jaden Wayne, he's probably, the last time I checked, is a top 15 recruit in the class of 2023. And the last one I wanted to show you is, the offensive line picture for Georgia is certainly very murky. This is Griffin Scroggs. He's out of Grayson High, 6'6", about 300. He worked out and got an offer from Georgia. That workout was special. And Griffin Scroggs is one of those guys where you can kind of see that this means a lot to him to be offered by the University of Georgia. This is a guy that I think you start kind of thinking about the short list of guys that could fit into the Georgia class, especially with what they want to do with taking a couple of developmental offensive linemen. Going to watch that Griffin Scroggs recruitment, certainly, to see if a big guy like that winds up being a Bulldog in the class of 2022. I think those are all the tweets. We had a lot of business to get to today, a lot of stuff to flow through today. Hope you guys were able to keep up. Let me see what's going on with you guys. Got any questions or anything we can talk to you about? See how I was keen enough to get that light popped up and get it centered on my face when we had one of those 5-minute interviews, 5-minute packages with Branson Robinson and also Justice Haynes. Take a look at that if you guys are just joining us. Those are some pretty good stuff and a very, very packed first part of our show. I'm gonna take a quick lap around Facebook and YouTube. You guys got any questions? Anything you guys want to talk about? Let's see what we can do. Richard D's got a question about Traquan Fegans. Yeah, I put an update on this maybe last weekend in the forum. He went from a guy that, and this is how the board works, guys. He went from a guy that was hearing from Georgia every day. I think Jamil Adai called him on the first day he had the job, but now he only hears from Georgia about once a week. It seems like Georgia's trying to figure out exactly what it wants with a lot of workouts in the 2022 defensive back class. I think a name that was maybe hot and heavy earlier. You could put Traquan Fegans in there, maybe with the name Jordan Lockdown Allen as well. As we got closer and closer to visits and everything else and evaluation, Georgia started centering on certain guys. That's Kamari Wilson. That's Keon Sabb. Now you've got a guy like, Dayon Bowie is no longer in the class, but is it Jake Pope? Is it Dalen Everett? As Georgia tries to figure out who the remaining pieces are at defensive back for this class, especially the cornerback position. That's a guy, Traquan Fegans, that I think he's probably going to have to come to Georgia in camp this month. And actually, that's one of those things where he's kind of just decided to slow down with everything. He visited Bama already this month as well. Connor Graham, Travis Shaw's visiting in 2 weekends. That's the third weekend. That's the 18th, the weekend of the 18th. They are Connor Graham is when that they will. Georgia stacked at tight end for a while. Well, not really. Connor, they took Brock Bowers last year. The year before that, they took Darnell Washington. Brett Seither is before that. Rylan Godey is before that. John Fitzpatrick is before that. So you're going to see, I think John Fitzpatrick has already graduated from Georgia. Now he's into his graduate classes. There is a very special attachment. And one of the things that Kirby Smart told Oscar Delp told me that Kirby Smart told him is we don't have a player kind of like you with the variety of skills. He's 6'5", he's about 230. He's big. He's really good in the run game, very physical, very good yards after catch. He exploded last year in Georgia's Class 7A. Robert Wakefield, Arch Manning is going to visit this month. He just got through visiting Clemson. Georgia's one of the schools he wanted to check out. Jordan Bowman, we've got Clemson onto the feed. There's definitely right about that. We've said this a lot. Clemson won't allow they don't allow official visits in the summer. That's the one thing that recruits keep telling me, especially even in this cycle. The other thing is that if you're committed to another school, you can't take an official visit to Clemson. And if you want to take an official visit to another school while you're committed to Clemson, then the thing you have to do is to decommit. Let me see. Danny Blackman, thanks for hanging out. Let me see. Got some thoughts on a lot of guys. See what Facebook. Thomas Gwynn, hey, thanks, man, for watching. Steve Weimer, thanks for watching. Clarence Dawson, Patrick Harris, Travis McCullough, Moose Thames. Certainly appreciate you guys all logging in and hanging out. Hope you guys are, like I said, a lot of stuff to get to. Big, busy week for Georgia recruiting, 2 decommitments, all the slew of visitors coming in, all the slew of great news you're hearing about how those official visits went as they're supposed to go. But also a lot of good feedback from a lot of unofficial visitors as well as Georgia starts moving forward as it continues to recruit the best players in the nation at a rate that very few other schools can match up with or compare. Randy Hall, Brock Bowers. Another thing about Brock Bowers is Delp's a big fan of Bowers. Got a chance to hang out with him. His hosts were actually Brett Seither and John Fitzpatrick. Kendall Milton, of all folks, guys, he hosted Branson Robinson over the past weekend. But Jermaine King makes a comparison about Travis Shaw hour here now. But the thing that there was a lot of things about Delp, but when Kirby Smart told them that they don't really have a player quite like him, that made an impact. Ryan Elward, I like this question, Ryan. So what's the biggest difference in securing Georgia's remaining targets? 1, coaches; 2, influential 22 commits; or 3, superior on-field play. Ryan, I think you nailed it with your last one. I think it's superior on-field play, 1, but then it's also the way Georgia looks superior on the field. And I think that's a dynamic offense. I think Georgia's going to have a robust defensive class. It always does. But for me, the difference in this class between extraordinary for Georgia, let me back up, meaning very good, upper echelon, top tier for the nation. That's kind of what Georgia does every year. The difference between that and being extraordinary for Georgia is they're going to have to land a guy like Oscar Delp. They're going to have to land a guy like maybe an Andre Green Jr. and a Kojo Antwi. They're going to have to get those lethal, fire-breathing dragon type playmakers where they're just explosive. They put their foot in the ground and go. Georgia's going to need that stockpile, those guys on offense this year. That would include Branson Robinson to go along with a guy like Gunnar Stockton, a guy that probably doesn't get enough credit as he deserves. I mean, the guy can throw the ball 65 yards, 66 yards in the air in a game. He's going to run a 4.7 laser on grass, 4.6, 4.7 laser on grass, tough runner, physical leader. He's going to challenge for basically every career passing record in Georgia high school football history this fall. All right, guys, want to say thanks for having another hour with us on Before the Hedges. We heard from Branson Robinson. We heard from Justice Haynes. We had a chance to kind of take a lap around what's going on now with the recruiting cycle and Georgia losing 2 5-star commitments on back-to-back days this week. Georgia drops from number 1 to number 4. If you've been with us for a long time, that's the one thing is Georgia is always going to recruit at that very high level. And a lot of those players that Georgia recruits, well, they're not the easiest guys to hold on to, especially coming out of a pandemic. One thing that we can speak with confidence about is we will be here on Dog Nation to be there for the ups and downs. We're going to record and chronicle as much of it as we can. We're going to bring you the stories of these young men as well. Hope everybody has themselves a good remainder of the week. Let me give you a little intel nugget. We will be back next week for Before the Hedges, but I'm going to be well tanned when I do. Actually, my lovely bride is celebrating her birthday on the next couple of days, and I kind of thought it would be a good idea to take her out of the country for a while and have some fun and not think about 5 stars so much for the next 4 or 5 days or so. But anyway, guys, it's always my pleasure to be here talking all things Georgia football, Georgia recruiting. I'm Jeff Sintel. You guys have yourself a great week. Feel blessed. Be blessed. Have yourself a great rest of your work week. Make a difference in our world if you can over the next couple of days with even the smallest of actions. Take care of one another out there, and we'll see you guys again on the pages of DogNation.com. Thanks to everybody for hanging out again tonight.